Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Blockchain Talks or Bitcoin Talks. I'm your host Dimitri. This time I'm changing a little bit the live formats. I recently changed jobs so I could focus more on Bitcoin related topics. So yeah, format is now probably me going around in the car. Which concerns development. As those of you who know what I'm doing with BitBlock, I'm developing a new Bitcoin client software. But it isn't the headline of this topic I want to discuss with you. What I want to talk with you guys about while driving is about, spam on Bitcoin. So this is going to be another entry in regards to Bitcoin nodes or Bitcoin Core versus Bitcoin nodes, everything concerning spam. Now, what I want to debunk in this little live stream here has to do with one of the main arguments that some of the proponents of Core version 30 are pulling up. All data being equal. I'm going to say it's a load of bullcrap. Reason? Well, people are saying data is data, which isn't true. It is a reductionist apology. Yeah, let's put it that way. Reductionist apology. What do I mean with that? Well, it has everything to do with trying to say that everything is equal, which it obviously isn't. Reductionist in the sense that they're trying to make the argument, yeah, but everything's encrypted, and if you break it down hard enough, everything becomes zeros and ones, everything becomes binary. Though anyone who has a iota of understanding in regards to, data and information technology knows data is different. Yes, up to a certain level, everything is code. What is important is how that code is being read. Now, in recent developments of the discussion and debate, frequently quoted by Bitcoin Mechanic, said by Bitcoin Mechanic, and as a counter-argument being made of all data is equal, I'm going to say no, not all data is equal. As one of the main reasons that Bitcoin Mechanic pointed out, CP, child porn, I prefer not to mention it by name for, obviously censorship reasons, but anyway, it exists. CSAM material, on the internet and digitally seen, it's also data. It is morally reprehensive data. Things a normal law-abiding person doesn't want to see or doesn't want to exist, but it exists, sadly enough. Now, one of the things which can happen is such content reaching it onto the Bitcoin network, which might trigger a plethora of legal issues in the near future. So yeah, it's something which people need to be wary about. And that argument, people are trying to debunk or, reduce by saying data is data. We've had people like Shinobi making the argument, yeah, but it is encrypted. You cannot see it directly. Yeah, I mean, it is encrypted, so what? If something is encrypted, it can be decrypted. Anyone who knows a little bit about social media, or even on how something like WhatsApp or Telegram works, knows messages are indeed encrypted, but decrypted by the receiver. All you need is a correct key. All you need is the correct software in order to make it visible. You cannot hide behind the excuse of it's merely data. No, you can't. It is morally reprehensive data. I mean, we're not talking about JPEGs here, even though that kind of content can be a JPEG. We're not talking about text here, we're not talking about binary numbers. We are really talking about morally reprehensible data, which can be seen, and if it ever makes it onto the Bitcoin network, hosted globally for all eternity. So basically what I'm saying here is that the reductionist apology of saying data is data, it doesn't matter, so spam doesn't exist, is, well, a stupid argument. It really is. Because the issue is not that it is data, it is what that data reflects. What that data exactly is. And people like Shinobi and others who are trying to defend spam on Bitcoin blockchain will say, yeah, but in the end it's all code. But it's the interpretation of the code that matters. And that interpretation, the importance thereof, is what it is showing. And if it is such reprehensible content, you do not want it. So yeah, trying to communicate here is that data isn't but data. It isn't data because it is encrypted and it suddenly becomes harmless. It is an argument which wouldn't fly when upheld in a courtroom. For that simple reasoning, well, the data is accessible. You only need the correct software in order to access it. So, I mean, just imagine someone who has been distributing illegal content and saying to the judge, yeah, but it's only data, Your Honor. You can't read it unless you have the correct key to decrypt the data and view it for yourself. Yeah, no, it doesn't make the crime less illegal or less reprehensible. It means you've just limited a little bit the access to it. It doesn't mean that the data doesn't exist, and it doesn't mean you aren't innocent on providing such illegal content. You made it available, you are hosting it, you are actively distributing it. Putting it behind a password does not invalidate the illegality of it all. Anyway, attached to that made argument is that the spam apologist will say Bitcoin is a permissionless system. This little quote, this little slogan is often touted as an excuse for doing whatever they want, and it comes in tandem frequently with the argument of data is data. For starters, Bitcoin is permissionless is only partially true, and this might come as a great shock to many, and I'm pretty sure many people will misquote me on that one, but hear me out. Bitcoin is only permissionless because there's no central governance system in place. You're talking about a distributed, decentralized network, which implies that what the network decides goes. However, that means because of the decentralized and distributed network, that everything which is being communicated with between the nodes is permissionless. You are free to distribute your transactions and communicate it towards the network as you see fit. However, that does not mean that permissionless implies that, sorry, gotta take my hands on the road, keeping my eyes on the road here. So it doesn't mean that anything goes within said system. So meaning it is a very, very weak excuse as an apology to allow for spam or even such illegal content to take place and be hosted onto the Bitcoin network. Permissionless only means as agreed upon by consensus within the network. It doesn't mean anything goes. It isn't that. Because even between nodes, people can set up which kind of content, which kind of transactions they want to communicate to the rest of the network. Mempool policy. People have the choice to relay the kind of information they want, which also implies people have the right to censor transactions or content they deem not fit to be included onto the Bitcoin network. Simple as that. And in that regard, we see a little contradiction between the pro-spam apologists and the anti-spam proponents. The spam apologists will say permissionlessness for the very reason that they can start and continue keeping on spamming the Bitcoin network. And then we see people like Adam Back, very recently even, making cases about preferential peering. Now, for people who do not know what preferential peering implies, it implies friendly nodes communicating among each other in order to push, well, their proof of work onto the blockchain. Now, even with the words preferential peering, you should feel something ringing, a certain confrontational tone, because preferential peering can be attached to central governance. We have a very small amount of people peering to each other preferentially and submitting their work without notifying or communicating it for verification by the rest of the network. So those are very dangerous words coming from a supposed Bitcoin legend. Those are very dangerous words in regards to, well, anti-spam, well, in regards to spam measures. What we are seeing is a transition from Bitcoin not only as a currency towards a free data cloud storage system, but we are seeing as well Bitcoin becoming a permissioned system, which is a very, very dangerous thing.